We'll start afternoon session of the 2017 moeiIMO Assembly. First of all, there will be a presentation of Team Triple N's with the title Proposal for the IBIS Integrated Biofouling Information System. Please welcome Team Triple N's. Same procedure, you can start when you're ready.
Well, good afternoon, fellow contestants, ladies and gentlemen. We are the Triple N's, and today we are going to be presenting our proposal for the Integrated Biofouling Information System. In our presentation today, we are going to first go over the background by exploring the definition, causes, and impacts of biofouling, and then we will further discuss about the resolutions that the IMO has proposed in order to reduce biofouling in 4 different aspects, including cleaning, record book, latitudinal restrictions, and coding. And after that, we will talk about the amendments that we think should be made in those 4 different aspects in order to reduce biofouling more effectively. So before we go into any of the details, what exactly is biofouling? Biofouling is defined to be the accumulation of aquatic organisms such as microorganisms, plants, and animals on the surfaces as structures exposed to or immersed in the aquatic environment. And it can be further divided into macrofouling and microfouling, in which macrofouling deals with large distinct organisms visible to the human eye, while microfouling deals with microscopic organisms. There are many causes of biofouling for different types of ships and situations, but one common cause found is to be the formation of biofilm. Microbes form a biofilm in response to many different factors, which may include cellular recognition of specific or non-specific sites, nutritional values, or even in some cases, exposure of planktonic cells to sub-inhibitory concentrations of antibiotics. And as you can see from this diagram, the biofilm can form with the attachment, growth, and division of just a single free-floating bacteria on the surface. The problem with biofouling is that it affects the environment in a negative way. The flow of invasive aquatic species destroys the original ecosystem. And as you can see from the graph, the biofouling is the main cause for the flow of invasive aquatic species in most of the nations, which exceeds like 50%. And this is a picture of invasive aquatic species in Jeju of South Korea, destroying the ecosystem by taking over the habitat of the original species, showing how this issue is not only just closely related to us, but it's also something that we can no longer just ignore. And the next speaker will further explore this issue by discussing about some of the problems of the current IMO resolutions.
Thank you. Here I would like to take a closer look into the biofouling guidelines suggested by the IMO. As shown on the slide here, it is recommended to write a record book that follows this form. The role of the record book initially was to make sure management on biofouling took place and to gather data from the record book to prevent biofouling. As you can see, not much information can be gained from this record book, and so these objectives are not being reached properly. Cleaning is also an important method for both preventing and solving problems of biofouling. There are 2 typical measures: in-water cleaning and dry dock cleaning. In-water cleaning is the physical removal of biofouling in the water, and dry dock cleaning is going through the same process in a dry dock. This process might not seem critical, but a biofilm 1 millimeter thick can increase the ship hull friction by 80%. Just by cleaning, the ship can increase fuel efficiency and reduce the amount of biofouling greatly. This Despite its importance, the guidelines state nothing about the frequency of cleaning or how to manage with the toxic coatings released during the process, which affects the marine environment. Our team also suggests that latitudinal movements of ships should become a consideration. Regions with different latitudes receive different amounts of solar radiation, resulting in the variation of water temperatures. And because of a different amounts of dissolved oxygen in the water due to our temperature, marine organisms show a tendency depending on latitude, which can also be seen in this map. Therefore, if a ship enters a region with a different latitude, there is a higher possibility for invasive aquatic species to inhabit in new environments, destroying the original ecosystem. Finally, as mentioned slightly earlier, chemicals used to coat a vessel is an uprising problem. There are actually various methods, such as TBT and copper, to coat a vessel, but more research on an environmental friendly and cost-efficient chemical is still required. From here, we will explain the amendments that our team thinks should be made to solve biofouling.
So how can we solve this problem? I would like to discuss about the changes we can make in the current resolution, specifically in the fields of record book, cleaning, latitudinal regulation, and coating. Also, by integrating these 4 criteria, we developed a new method called IBIS, which can help handle the issue of biofouling more effectively. First of all, amendments should be made on record book. In current resolution, it is recommended to maintain record books by all vessels, but the recommended frequency or date of gathering it is not mentioned. Also, list of the things that have to be written in the record book are somewhat lacking and deficient. Amendments should be made on this. Record book should be written periodically, and the contents in the record book needs to be more specific. Therefore, as in Article 5.8, we suggest that periodical gathering of record books be written, and the information in the record book needs to include the location and route of the ship. Collecting record books from different vessels on various routes will be the first step to solve the problem of biofouling. Next amendment should be made on cleaning. Cleaning is an important process to prevent biofouling, but there is no guideline on how often a ship has to be cleaned. Therefore, in the resolution, exact period of cleaning must be notified according to ship type and its sailing route. We suggest this amendment be added in 7.5.1 of the resolution. And sometimes ships might be containing extremely invasive species on their surface, which might then flow into the ocean while the process of cleaning. So as in Article 7.7, ships containing highly invasive species should proceed cleaning process with caution needs to be included. Route of a traveling ship and how far a ship is traveling are factors greatly affecting biofouling because there are certain biological differences in different oceans. Especially, difference in latitude creates temperature gaps region from region, which leads to significant biological difference. And flow of species from different latitude can be disastrous to original species of a region. Therefore, when ships travel latitudes with certain differences, cleaning should be done before entering the new region. Specifically, ships must be cleaned before entering regions with high possibility of exotic species invasion. We added these amendments as 7.14 of the resolution. IMO needs to discuss and clarify the recommended period of cleaning relating to the latitudinal movement of a ship. Lastly, I'll talk about coating, which is the most important part of anti-fouling. In the current resolution, Coating materials are not discussed in specific ways. Toxic materials in coating paints can pollute the marine ecosystem severely, so it is very important to find and limit the harmful paints in the first place. To make it more efficient, IMO should specify which types of materials should be used for certain types and parts of a vessel. These are important for anti-fouling efficiency and also for saving the marine ecosystem from harmful paints. Also, specifying the frequency of recoating would help ships handle the issue of biofouling more effectively. These amendments should be added as in Article 8.4 for effective coating. I have explained amendments made in 4 criteria so far, and now the next speaker will integrate these 4 criteria and introduce integrated biofouling information system which can help solve biofouling more effectively.
In order to supplement the amendments that we have proposed so far and to make it more effective, we came up with a system called the Integrated Biofouling Information System. So one might ask, why do we need to use the system in the first place? Well, it's because the system can help us connect important parts of the current resolution together and thus allow people to handle the issue of biofouling more efficiently. How the system essentially works is by gathering information through the record book and sharing it with the nations that are currently taking part in the IMO. And with these gathered information from various types of ships traveling different routes, we can analyze it in order to learn from each case. For instance, we can find the best cleaning period or the best coating method for a specific type of ship. And the reason that we cannot do so currently is because we don't have enough information to do so. But with the IBIS, we can analyze data from the record book in order to get a grasp of or an idea of what the best method of the coating or the best cleaning period are for each type of ship. And so in this way, the IBIS will provide better planning and management method for each ship. And since the IBIS also allows ships to share information, similar type of ships traveling a similar route can take into account the exchanged information in order to increase their fuel efficiency by decreasing biofouling, because as we mentioned earlier, biofouling decreases fuel efficiency significantly. And furthermore, by looking at the record book, nations can also know from looking at the traveling route of the ships or the cleaning period of the ships and etc. of the potential dangers of invasive species in their own harbor, and this will give them a chance or allow them to take actions needed in order to prevent the ecosystem of their harbor from being destroyed by these invasive aquatic species, which might affect the nation's economy. And so summing everything up, what we are suggesting is the IBIS. So until now, the problem with the current IMO resolution has been that some of the topics are handled rather separately, and this separation makes it difficult to come up with precise regulations. And the function of the IBIS is to record, keep track, give feedback, interrelate, compare, and analyze the results in order to come up with a better method for efficient biofouling control. And with these amendments that we have proposed and the IBIS together, it will do its job as surveillance, providing current state of affairs and statistical data. The amendments that we have proposed provide some specification for some of the vague terms in the current IMO resolution, and it also introduces a guideline for the ships depending on the route of the ships. And moreover, the IBIS will provide information for more efficient management of biofouling. So in conclusion, life is life's greatest gift, so we should guard the life of another as we would our own. Thank you.
Thank you, Team Triple N, for your presentation. Procedure is the same. Professor Daniel Moon, please.
Good afternoon to you all, and thank you very much indeed for your presentation on, again, biofouling by Triple N's. And I'd like to come to the floor for Q&A time, first of all. The Madam Kitchen.
First of all, thank you for your wonderful presentation. It was truly inspiring. And also, we are Team the Marine Catchers. The question that I wanted to ask was that, as far as we know, the record books used for IBIS is written by hand, and therefore, it is hard to gather all the information and analyze it all together. Have you thought about the cost of introducing such systems?
Thank you for your question, but are you asking about a new system?
Sorry, the system, the current existing system, introducing it to all the current situation, as you have mentioned in your presentation.
Rather than inventing a new system to record the...
Okay, I was asking this because although the system is already existing, it's not used for all the situations, but you have recommended it to use for a lot of companies, right? Is that correct?
Yes, we suggest using record books because we think that it is best way to prevent biofouling, to see and experience what's causing the problem and what is being wrong. And gathering the record book will be better for the future use to prevent biofouling because you can gather more information. That's what we thought.
So we're asking you about the realistic problems of analyzing all the information, since the information are very broad, and since it's written by hand, the information are not well organized in record books used for IBIS.
I fully understand that it will cost a lot of money to make all of the handwriting into an analyzed database. But considering the future effects that biofouling can have, the impacts of biofouling on the environment, we did not think about the actual costs of changing all of it to the data, but we do believe that it would be more efficient to make a record book and share it with other countries.
Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you. You mean that does the existing can be replaced by this system you've been suggesting, or complementary to the existing one? So complementary.
Complementary.
Okay, thank you. And okay, I've been familiar with the cause raised, and okay, emergency first.
Thank you for your presentation. I'm from the emergency, and I will ask just a simple question, and I would like to ask about what firm in IBIS supported, such as loading on board or software installing application.
Can you please refer to the question one more time?
I just wonder if this system will be installed on board or like.
It can be installed on board, I guess, but because biofouling isn't just a thing that happens suddenly, I think it would be better if ships could exchange information maybe on the internet or just by taking a look at, since ships know which route they're gonna go to before they leave the harbor. It would be better if it doesn't have to be on board. So
this is Team Lifesaver. I would just like to ask another question regarding the record book. In your presentation, you have mentioned that all the record books of biofouling system will be collected for accumulation of information and checkups. But already in the resolution MEPC 207, it is stated that the biofouling record book is used for evaluation of efficiency of the specific anti-fouling systems by the ship owner as well as the state authorities. So it's already been collected by ship owners and states. And is there a need for another system to collect this information for accumulation of information?
Thank you for your question, but what we mean by IBIS is that, as you have mentioned, currently the record book only makes the ship owners to write the record book and it just ends there. But what we want is that after writing the record book, they can share it with other ship owners too, so that they can get the information as well, and they can predict how much biofouling will happen on their ship if they go on this route with this kind of this shape or the shape of vessel will have.
Thank you for your answer.
Thank you. Anchor Spirit. Sorry, I'll come to the next section. Anchor Spirit first.
Thank you for your presentation. This is Anchor Spirit. In page 16, you mentioned that specify which type of coating material should be used for a certain type of ship. But is there a research to back up the idea that certain type of ship face a certain kind of fouling? Is there any backup research to enhance your idea?
What we meant by certain part of ship is that the part where there's a lot of in-water fouling, we can use, since actually there is a chemical, well not a chemical but texture that can prevent biofouling, but the problem is that it's very expensive. So what we mentioned is that for only the parts that are in water and biofouling is great, we could use those kinds of materials. And then for the parts that aren't that serious, we could just use some other kind of materials that are maybe more cost efficient. So yeah, so we could use different chemicals on different parts of the ships.
Next, Perry Kim.
This is a speaker from the team Perikim. Firstly, we appreciate your impressive presentation. Your team proposed several amendments for coping with the current problem in several viewpoints, such as cleaning, latitudinal, and coating. However, seemingly they are merely dwelling on guidelines and restrictions that the vessel has to observe. And in that point, we would like to ask you to elaborate about the penalties in case there occurs some vessels that violate against it, especially focusing on the latitudinal issue. Could you answer about this question, please?
For latitudinal issues, there actually isn't any penalties that we have thought, but in our team thinks that when a vessel happens to enter a particular country's harbor, the impacts of the biofouling due to the invasive aquatic species will be very heavy. So the country of as mentioned in your presentation earlier, our team thinks that the country the ship enters will probably make a regulation based on the information they can get from our IBIS system.
Thank you for answering.
Thank you. No more questions. I see no hands raised. Okay, I have. Okay. Would you please make a quick?
Thank you for your presentations. Here's a question. Regarding the amendments, the power of cleaning, when the ship enters specific regions which have high possibility of exotic species, how can you judge it? And what if exotic specific move into another space fastly?
As I mentioned, we thought that similar latitudes have similar environments, so that can also be a way to determine if it's an invasive. Because for some latitude, a species may not be invasive, but for some other latitude, it might be invasive. So we could do that, or the UN has made a lot of places that are very clean, and when a ship happens to go through there, that can also become regulation too.
Thank you. Thank you, three friends. This is the end of Q&A for the presentation made by three friends. Thank you, three friends.
Thank you again, three friends.